The story of America is the story of a land shaped by hope, conflict, and transformation. It begins long before the United States existed, long before the idea of freedom was written on paper. It is a story of ancient civilizations, of a revolution that changed the world, of a nation divided and reunited, of innovation, struggle, and resilience. To understand America is to walk through centuries of change, to see how each era built upon the last, and to realize that its history is not yet complete. This is the journey of a nation called the United States of America. Long before Europeans arrived, the land we now call America was home to millions of native peoples. The Iroquois built powerful alliances in the Northeast, while the Sioux hunted across the Great Plains. The Navajo and Apache thrived in the deserts of the Southwest, while the Cherokee and Creek lived in the lush Southeast. These societies built rich cultures with complex languages, spiritual traditions, and systems of trade that connected tribes across vast distances. For thousands of years, they lived in harmony with the land, seeing rivers, mountains, and forests not as property to be owned, but as sacred parts of life itself. In 1492, Christopher Columbus's voyage opened the door for European exploration. Soon, Spain, France, and England sent explorers across the Atlantic. They built settlements and claimed territories. In 1607, the English established Jamestown, Virginia, the first permanent English colony. Over the next century, more colonies were founded along the Atlantic coast. These new societies brought farming, trade, and European traditions, but they also carried devastating diseases that destroyed native populations. Alongside colonization came one of history's darkest chapters, the transatlantic slave trade. Enslaved Africans were brought to the colonies against their will, forced to labor in fields and plantations, building wealth for others at an unimaginable human cost. By the 1700s, the 13 colonies were thriving, but beneath the surface lay deep divisions. As the colonies grew, tensions with Britain increased. Taxes without representation, restrictive trade laws, and the heavy hand of British authority sparked resentment. Protests erupted, and voices of resistance grew louder. In 1776, the colonies declared independence, stating boldly that all men are created equal and endowed with the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The American Revolution followed, a long and difficult war against the most powerful empire of the time. Farmers, blacksmiths, and ordinary citizens joined together under the leadership of George Washington. With determination, sacrifice, and help from allies like France, the colonies achieved victory in 1783. The Treaty of Paris recognized the United States of America as a new nation. The young country faced the challenge of building a government. In 1787, leaders drafted the Constitution, creating a system of checks and balances. The Bill of Rights soon followed, guaranteeing freedoms like speech, religion, and press. But contradictions remained. While liberty was celebrated, slavery continued. While democracy expanded, native lands were seized. The new republic was both promising and imperfect. During these early years, the United States began to expand westward. Settlers crossed mountains and rivers in search of land and opportunity. The idea of manifest destiny, the belief that America was destined to stretch across the continent, fueled this movement. Yet expansion came at a heavy cost for Native Americans, who were pushed from their homelands through policies like the Trail of Tears. By the 1800s, America was a land of contradictions. In the North, industry was rising, cities were growing, and movements against slavery were gaining strength. In the South, agriculture thrived on the labor of enslaved Africans. The question of slavery divided the nation, sparking heated debates and fierce resistance. In 1861, 11 Southern states seceded, forming the Confederacy. The Civil War began, the bloodiest conflict in American history. For 4 years, brother fought against brother, and cities were torn apart. The Union, led by Abraham Lincoln, fought not only to preserve the nation but also to end slavery. In 1865, the Union triumphed. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery, redefining the meaning of freedom in America. After the war, the nation entered a period called Reconstruction. The South was rebuilt, and freed African Americans gained the right to vote and hold office. For a brief moment, equality seemed possible. But this progress was met with violent opposition. Groups like the Ku Klux Klan terrorized communities, and new laws known as Jim Crow enforced racial segregation. The promise of freedom was delayed, though never abandoned. As the 19th century closed, America transformed into an industrial giant. Railroads linked the coasts, factories filled cities, and inventions changed daily life. Immigrants arrived from Ireland, Italy, Germany, China, and many other places, seeking opportunity. They brought new cultures, languages, and traditions, enriching America, but also facing discrimination. Labor movements rose as workers demanded fair pay and safer conditions. Despite hardship, America was becoming a land of innovation and growth, where dreams of opportunity inspired millions. By the early 20th century, America was ready to step onto the global stage. In 1898, victory in the Spanish-American War brought new territories. In 1917, the United States entered World War I, helping the Allies achieve victory. After the war came the Roaring Twenties, a decade of jazz, flappers, booming business, and social change. But in 1929, the stock market crashed, plunging the nation into the Great Depression. Millions lost their jobs, homes, and savings. President Franklin D. Roosevelt launched the New Deal, programs that built schools, roads, and jobs, giving hope to a struggling people. In 1941, the attack on Pearl Harbor brought America into World War II. Soldiers fought across Europe and the Pacific, while workers at home built weapons, tanks, and planes. Women joined the workforce in record numbers, symbolized by the figure of Rosie the Riveter. By 1945, the war was won, but the world had changed forever. America emerged as a global superpower, now locked in rivalry with the Soviet Union. The Cold War shaped decades of American life. Nuclear weapons cast a shadow, and conflicts in Korea and Vietnam tested the nation's strength. At the same time, a different struggle unfolded at home. African Americans demanded equality, marching in the streets and challenging segregation. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X gave voice to a movement that changed the nation. Civil rights laws were passed, but the journey toward equality continued. The late 20th century brought both triumph and turmoil. America landed on the moon in 1969, showcasing its innovation. Political scandals like Watergate tested faith in leaders. The Cold War ended in 1991, leaving the United States as the world's most powerful nation. The 21st century began with tragedy on September 11, 2001, when terrorist attacks shook the nation. Wars followed in Afghanistan and Iraq. The Great Recession of 2008 tested the economy once again, but America continued to innovate, leading in technology, medicine, and culture. The election of Barack Obama in 2008 marked a milestone, reflecting progress in the long struggle for equality. The story of America is one of contradictions and resilience. It is a story of liberty and struggle, of unity and division, of progress and unfinished dreams. From the voices of native peoples to the courage of revolutionaries, from the fight for freedom in the Civil War to the march for civil rights, each generation has added its chapter. Today, America stands as a diverse and powerful nation, still wrestling with challenges, still striving to live up to its ideals. Its history reminds us that freedom is not a gift, but a responsibility, not a destination, but a journey. The story of America is not over. It continues to be written every day by those who believe in justice, in opportunity, and in the promise of a more perfect union.